Hello everyone and welcome to the CEW podcast. Now I'm going to try and record as much of this as possible in one take. I'm very busy and I'm probably not going to have any other time to get this stuff done. So I'm getting it done now, and that's going to kind of be a little bit of a prelude as to what's to come over the next maybe couple weeks of this podcast going out to you guys. So hope you're all doing well. March has been was by the time you're watching this, will have been a fantastic month for CEW. We got basically five videos out this month, which I think is absolutely insane. We got 3 episodes of television, maybe 4 depending on when I premiere Mayhem episode 6. We were able to get Mayhem 5, Explosion 5, and Wednesday Night Warzone 1. I want to thank you all for tuning into Wednesday Night Warzone. I know it's different. I know it's something that you guys might not necessarily be super used to. And maybe something that you're not, maybe something you didn't sign up for. But for everyone who has checked it out, I do appreciate it. And for those of you that haven't checked it out, please just go ahead and give it a go. Again, I know it's a different style of thing, but I feel like it's something that if you gave it a chance, I feel like people would enjoy it. It's shorter content, it's shorter form, it's to the point, and that is something I need to address. In the future, I will explain what's going on with certain things when we get to certain things. I don't really want to say anything now. If you're on the Discord, you already know what I'm on about in regards to Wednesday Night Warzone. But yeah, March has been a very busy month, and it's going to bleed over into early April. Obviously, my diploma work is coming towards its end, which means that whilst it is also probably one of the most lax times I have, it's also one of the most stressful, because I've got to make sure that everything I've done is good enough to pass, at least. So there's a lot of working on that. Speaking of episode 7s, Mayhem 7, Explosion 7, Wednesday Night Warzone 3 are being worked on. As much as I would have loved to have said that Fight Forever was going to be done by the end of March, unfortunately, or at least in production by the end of March, that is not the case. I'm not gonna try and say it will be done by the end of April. It might. It very well might. But I don't see it being ready by the end of April. Could very well be. You never know. You could hear me say that it's ready to go, and, that would be cool. But I get the weird feeling that we could be looking towards sort of nearer to May, that the show is going to be either in production or ready to go. Just a heads up. I'm not going to set an unrealistic time to expect it. But I've rambled on enough about updates and stuff. So we're just going to move swiftly on to 2K23 stuff. You'd love to hear it from me. And yeah, as the screen says, we're going to talk about why I didn't buy it, and why I'm probably not going to buy it. Simply put, I've seen the game, and there are some elements that I think are fantastic, but I'm just going to say it now. Getting close to the camera, so you're going to hear that crisp audio. Most of the things that are actually good about the game are things that were hidden by 2K and have been found out by people on PC, so, I ain't buying a game where the people playing the game have to find all the cool stuff, okay? Simply put, I just don't see the improvement from 22 to go ahead and get 23. I've said this multiple times, but now that it's been out for basically a month, just under, by the time I drop this video, I just thought I'd give my thoughts on why I didn't buy the game and why I probably won't, and it's simple. Crate Arena is bugged, apparently. Apparently we're still getting core crashes, because they said it in their patch notes, so, if you haven't experienced that, that's cool, because I know some people on the Discord have said they haven't experienced any of that, which, that's fantastic. It just feels like 2K22, but with more wrestlers and slightly new things. I know that's what all the games are like. You don't have to be that person in the comments telling me that that's just what the 2K games are. I know, I've been playing them for about 4 or 5 years at this point, so I know what the games are like, and I know what, what 2K's model is, but it's just, I don't know, it doesn't feel the same to me this year to go ahead and purchase 23. It just doesn't feel right, and quite frankly, I could do without it. So I'm just gonna keep on 22, and I'm just gonna keep making what I can on 22 until I either move over to a different game at some point. Whether it is 2K23, whether it's 2K24, Wrestling Code, whatever, I will move over to something eventually. Or until CEW is gone, until CEW has, written its final chapter. That final chapter, is put in ink and it's done, And until one of those two things happens, I think I'm riding on 22 for a bit. So yeah, that's why I didn't buy TA23. I just didn't think it was worth the money or the time investment, really. And I think, with just how infrequent content has been, I'm willing to just, not have the flood of 2K23 people. And it means I don't have to, right, I mean this with sincerity, but I don't have to worry about the comments every 5 seconds of, can I join your Fed? I no longer have to worry about those comments, and I think that's fantastic in a way, because that's just never been what CEW has been about. Obviously I'm still going to get it until the server shut down, but once the server shut down, I'm free for a little bit, and I can just focus on getting what I want to get done, because again, it's been very infrequent, and I finally hit my stride. I finally figured out 22. I don't want to move over to 23 and derail things any further than they need to be. It's been 6 months plus since the last pay-per-view, and I'm getting very antsy because this is not this has become a bit of a standard for CEW, and I just don't want it to be that anymore. So that's why I'm not uprooting everything when I've just gotten everything situated on 22. So yeah, that's the end of that segment, and now we're gonna move on to core talk, and this is the importance of tag team wrestling within core. This is a thing that I see debated everywhere. We're talking, on Twitter, in YouTube discussions, on the Discords that I'm in, just everything. The discussion is always what is the importance, essentially, of tag team wrestling in core, and what can be done to make it better. And the one thing that I see, as an outsider looking in, which is the thing that I feel like a lot of people need to remember, I am very much an outsider looking in at a lot of the stuff when it comes to core, because, my style of doing core stuff is very different from the traditional core format. The core format is usually get a bunch of people in, etc. And I'm not like that. So I'll be looking on Twitter, all these new feds starting up, and they're like, we need men's solos, women's solos, tag teams, all that stuff. And the last two things to always go are women's and tag teams, and more specifically tag teams. Eventually the women will get the women's slots will fill up, but then the tag teams are just kind of left to maybe 4 or 5 key players, and that's really it in most feds. And I'm not saying this is for every fed. If you know examples, just feel free to let me know. I'm always down to look at places that are doing things differently and doing things well as well. But the thing that I've always seen is it feels like it's the same crop of tag teams. And that's not a bad thing. I always believe that, if someone is doing good work and they want to take their talents to as many feds as they want, let them do that. Let them show you the standard of their work. Let them show you what they're capable of on multiple different platforms to multiple different audiences. That's perfectly fine. But I think the problem is just tag team wrestling as a whole, to me, in the scene of core, does feel a little bit like an afterthought. Not in every fed, and I want to point this out every time I say this is how it feels, or like this is what I'm kind of seeing. I want it to be known this isn't like a broad statement, in a sense. You know, if you are doing good stuff with tag teams, cool, brilliant. I respect that a hell of a lot. But from what I've seen, tag team wrestling always feels a little bit like, right, we need to find opponents for the tag champs. And, you know, I've had my fair share of that. I would argue the tag division is the thing that I need to start building up a little bit more now. And I'm feeling like I'm starting to do that with the layers of the tag division. That's one of the big things I feel like a lot of divisions, tag divisions are lacking, and that's just depth and layers. You know, you can't just have all of the teams be the main event tag team players. There has to be some guys that maybe aren't at that tag team championship level just yet. There has to be those guys that are just coming in and maybe they need to, you know, hone their craft a little bit in the company kind of deal. There has to be those layers. It's the same as there are layers with the men's singles wrestlers, the women's singles wrestlers, the women's tag teams, which that is a topic for a whole nother day, because women's tag teams are even trickier, I would argue, to see done super, super well, compared to men's tag teams. And I think that says a lot. And I just think that my tip to people who are maybe looking to add more importance to their tag division is to just treat them like you would any other division. There are layers. There are those teams that are going to be your main event players, those guys that are going to be gunning for the tag titles. There are going to be your mid-card tag teams, your lower-card tag teams, your jobber teams. That's just how wrestling is. And when you take that and you put that into your division, and providing you have the tag teams to do this, because I understand that with a lot of feds, you know, they don't really like having their own characters or making their own characters to put into feds, because they feel like that's not really cool, and that's kind of, you know, like a little bit could lead to a lot of bias. I do personally believe that, you know, as long as you have the division and you have the people to make a good, compelling tag division, your tag division, really, you have no excuse on making it as important, maybe even more important than your singles titles at any one time. And honestly, you know, this is something that I'm working on. It's saying I've taken a lot of inspiration from like partner feds. You know, I'll name them. I don't really care. REW, my guy Ryan, absolutely killing it with the REW tag division. You know, he put so much importance on it over the last maybe like year. I don't even think a year is doing it justice. This man has been putting in so much dedication for the tag division for so long that it does very much feel like one of the strongest divisions that is going on in that company. And it's fantastic to see, and it's something that has inspired me to go on to try and make CEW's tag division a lot better. You know, we got Marzo versus the Rock and Rave Experience. You know, we got the whole Masked Attackers just gunning after the tag division as a whole. We're starting to build up, you know, British Rebellion, Operation Gold kind of thing. British Rebellion are going after the Masked Attackers. You know, we got like all these layers that are starting to now kind of come together and create this really like well-oiled and really well intertwined tag division. And I'm not saying that you have to make your tag division like the main attraction. If you want to make your world titles the main attraction, just remember that most people call their tag titles the World Tag Team Championships. That's one of the key things I think a lot of people tend to miss, is that they often call their tag titles the World Tag Titles and then say they want to put more importance on the World Championships, and then it's like, well, your World Tag Team titles are right there as well. So I think just put some importance on them, you know. again, I'm not saying it has to be, the main event of a pay-per-view every single time, but I would challenge any Fed, and I mean this. I challenge any Fed to make their main event of a pay-per-view a tag team championship match with the right build. I honestly, I challenge any Fed to do that. Is to build up your tag division and your tag team championship match to such a level where you say it's the main event and people go, yeah, cool, brilliant. I want to see it. I want to see it. And if someone does that because of this, let me know. Tag me on Twitter at the CEW Network. Comment on this video if you know of someone who's already done this. Just let me know, because I'm actually really interested to see if a company has actually had the World Tag Titles main event a pay-per-view and has also made it feel like a main event worthy match. That's the caveat, because anyone can just put their tag team title match on last, but it's really all about making the World Tag Team Championship match feel like the main event. So that's it. That's really it for the podcast. It's been a bit of a rambly one. I feel like these have been me getting things off my chest a lot of the time, and often just talking about things that I see in Core and just everything in general when it comes to the wacky world of virtual wrestling. Which I think is really good. It's really good. The amount of comments I get on podcasts often, just discussing things. I love hearing other people's opinions on this, because a lot of the time, it's very difficult to have a civil conversation within Core, because you talk to the wrong person about the wrong thing and it sparks an argument sometimes. And it's just very nice to just open up that dialogue with somebody and actually have a respectful conversation with someone about Core, because I get it, we're all passionate, we all want to do cool things, and we all want to do our own thing, and we want to do things without judgment, etc. But it's nice to have that conversation about what is and isn't working within Core, and I feel like it's very healthy to talk about it in a way that doesn't detriment or slander anybody. I think that's a very, very healthy conversation to be having within a community, is just what is and isn't working and what needs to be changed in order to make things work. That was a bit of a ramble in itself, but yeah, that's it for the podcast. Thank you all for listening. I've been Byron, wrapping up most of the recording for March now. I don't know if I'm going to work on anything else. I might. I'm recording this on the 27th of March, so the day before, either the day before or the Monday before Mayhem 6 drops, because I'm not sure if I'm dropping it on the Tuesday, i.e. Tuesday the 28th, or Wednesday the 29th. I'm not sure yet, but that's been it for me. I've been Byron. This has been the CEW podcast. And before I get on another rant, I will see you all next time.